Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody with the FF family. Today is Friday, June 13th, episode 24 of the Freedom Finances podcast. This is all about ranking finance news that you might have heard about. What's more important to everybody we're going to talk about today. I'm going to ask these lovely guests, what does this look like to them? Do they value it? Is it that important? Should we care? We'll go over that today. My name is Dylan. We're with usually Bradley and Nick, but we have Carrie back again, another contributor with the Freedom Finances website. You've probably heard of her if you've read anything on our website or, seen the podcast a couple times at this point. She pretends she's nervous, but she's a natural at it. We love having Carrie on. She's the best part about it. She makes us look good. To get us started on here, we love to do it. You love to hear about it. I'm going to start us off with what's going on really well with our lives. So, last time I was here, you all had talked about Mission Impossible.
Uh-huh.
I have never seen a Mission Impossible in my life, -3. And that was only some of it. I think it was like on Stars or something. I saw the intro. That was it, right? I have watched all but 6, 7, and 8. And I have to say, I have missed out in my life. These are fantastic movies. These aren't even like The Room with Tommy Wiseau, where they're so bad you love them, No. These are great. These are great movies. Favorite one, though, Bradley was like, hey, once you hit 3, they get really, really good. No one cares about 2, which I agreed. I kind of was like, what the heck am I watching? What is this movie? 3, fantastic. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Fantastic villain. I miss that guy. It makes me want to go watch, what was it? What was the Priest movie he was in? It was really good. It was with Meryl Streep.
I can't remember the name.
Oh man, that one was so good. I think it was like Hush or Don't Tell, something like that. Fantastic movie. He was the bad guy in as well. Anyway, if anyone's watched them right now, 4 is my favorite. 5 is really close, though. Yeah. 4 teared me up at the end. If you know, you know. It's fantastic. Carrie, since you're the guest, what's going on really well in your life?
Well, all of your ridiculous compliments, I guess.
Oh.
But no, I just got back from a mini trip to Chicago to see my cousin get married and also spent time with my family and my best friend. So that was nice.
Awesome. Last week for me, I was gone for a tooth extraction. Well, now it's 2 weeks now, but man, last time we were here, that was rough for me. I'm so glad I'm feeling better now. That's been great. Sorry, that was just mine previous time. Bradley, what's going on with your life? What's good?
Well, the Nintendo Switch 2 came out, which means the new Mario Kart came out. So if you live by me and hear me screaming and yelling, I'm a good person, but I get mad at Mario Kart, especially when I get blue shelled right before the finish line. So,
allegedly a good person. Get him in behind a cartwheel, though. Ooh, man, it's a different story. So you got it. Is it good? Is it bad? Should you get it? What do you think?
No, it's good so far. I'm trying not to be too addicted, but it's good so far.
Now, is it true the Switch 2 has backwards compatibility with a lot of the games?
Yep, and they look better too.
Nice. Yeah, I heard some of them play better. I know some of them are locked. That's awesome.
Better.
Are you using the Switch 1 at all at this point?
Like right now?
Well, no, like in general. Like you have the 2.
If it has backwards,
he's like, I just can't stop.
Well, no. I mean, I'm not. There's no reason to because it's backwards compatible.
There you go. All right. Some people might not know. Nick,
I'd like to note that there was no honorable mention of how he got the Switch 2.
It showed up in the mail.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh. That's all.
Shout out to the mailman. I don't know what you want.
Apparently.
I will say Carrie got it for me for our 15-year anniversary, so thank you.
Wow.
Shout out to
Anna. I guess.
How did it get? Which delivery service was it?
Oh, I don't know. One of those 3-letter something, 3 or 4 letters.
I figured Carrie would have known since she did it, right? So I was just kind of saying, shout out to the UPS guy.
My answer is Best Buy.
Shout out to Best Buy. Mm-hmm. All right. Nick, what's going great in your life?
Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention this. Bradley made me aware of it, but I actually got a promotion at work. So that was pretty cool.
What'd you get?
I reminded
so
him.
I know you remind. I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. No, I'm
Talk
going to
about
be
today.
leading a new line of business in our call center for our loyalty department. So I'll be managing a brand new stand-up team that's only been piloted up until this time. So there's 2 teams at work, and I'm leading one of them. So
Nice.
pretty excited for the new adventure. So
Nice.
Good luck, buddy. I'm proud of you.
thank you.
Some good news on the horizon, hopefully for a lot of us. Well, I appreciate everybody sharing something great in their life. Always like kicking that off, as always. Before we get to some bad news, which is our update on the investment draft, right, Nick? Aren't you excited?
I don't know. I want to recount.
Okay. Well, before we get to you, let's start with something great. Bradley, we'll go with you this time. So, if anyone doesn't know, we started off with $100,000. Each one of these two was able to invest those dollars into the stock market of their choice. We went off in a round-robin draft. During that time, we have been tracking how much they've gained and lost. And here's where we're at currently as of this week. And this is, Bradley, if I'm not mistaken, as of today's stock market update?
Close of the stock market today.
Close to the stock market. Okay. Bradley, starting off with $100,000, you are currently at $101,165.02. That's a positive gain of 1.17%. Your biggest winner, if I'm not mistaken, Ford was last time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 13% increase. Biggest loser, Meta, at almost 6%. Why are they performing or not performing to the expectations?
Well, it's funny because Ford just said that they're going to have some material problems potentially with, like, they get a lot of their materials from China and all the tariff nonsense. So I think they're like, Ford is trying to kind of hold people hostage in the U.S. Like, hey, you know, if you don't reduce these tariffs, we're going to have to, you know, close something down. But they won't. And right now, people love Ford. What I found was interesting is that what was my negative one? Meta. They were negative like 25 a few weeks ago.
Negative 6 right now.
Yeah, so it's not too bad actually. So they made quite an improvement, and everything's kind of evening out. Both Nick and I were way better yesterday before Israel bombed Iran. Like, our stocks were way better. Then that happened. Apparently, investors don't love nuclear war, so.
Who would have thought?
Hey, I'm just saying, stock market's just about vibes. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Not at all. Okay. Well, we'll get to the world news in a little bit as opposed to how it affects the economy. Nick, we're going off to you. Starting off with $100,000, you're currently sitting at $96,626.79. You're at a negative 3.37%. Your biggest winner is Netflix. I think that's been a continuing trend, up 15%, almost 16. That's awesome. Biggest loser, Starbucks. It's negative 21%, but as we've looked, it's actually an improvement.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Negative 40 at one point.
Yeah, so
losing a little less.
Yeah, it's almost back up to not losing that much. No, so Starbucks had some recent guidance changes. I think price guidance was raised to like $95 a share through Goldman Sachs. I think that they've talked about a couple different things. They've got some investments that they've considered selling off. And then they've got some new AI initiatives that they're driving. And I think investors are excited about and think that there's some potential for increased revenue. So I think the stock price is reflecting some of those things, which is cool. I don't know that we've actually gotten a solid earnings call that shows like the value from it yet, but I think people are excited for what might be coming down the line, and that's why we're seeing the increase. Even though it's the biggest loser, it's not as big.
What could Starbucks do with AI? Like, I don't understand what they could do with AI and coffee.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like a way, like through the ordering system, maybe using AI to be like predict drinks and maybe recommend different types of drinks based off of your preferences that you've had in the past, like different things like that I could see. But yeah, it seems like investors are happy.
Yeah, I was going to say a way to reduce headcount at like the check-in at the store, maybe. Because other fast food chains have like tested in like Texas and stuff. I know. So maybe that's it. Or maybe they're being like DoorDash. You can eat now, pay later with AI. That sounds great. I love that.
Jeez. Yeah, it's possible, I guess.
I hope not. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody. Thanks for talking through what's going great in your lives and with the investment draft. I really appreciate that so far. Now I'm going to talk about what happened, what I missed last podcast session, which was my Would You Rather. Now, what I did for mine, I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. I had gone over topics that we have potentially, if you haven't gone to our website, topics you may not have read or noticed before with these three fine people who were able to give their insights on this. So if you've missed it, here's a lot of what their air quote specialty they've written about, and they can give some insight on. So first I'm going to start with Carrie, because we love Carrie. And Carrie, the first one I have for you. Would you rather open a credit card to build credit or open a car loan to build credit? If not a loan at all, is there a different loan you would recommend over a credit card?
So would this be like my first loan?
Yeah, let's say you're just starting off with credit. This is what you're doing.
Okay. So I would say I'd rather open a credit card responsibly than a car loan to build credit, because without any credit, typically the higher rate you're going to get on your loan. So it's up to me what I put on my credit card and what I know I can pay off and what that interest is going to, or how that interest will affect me. Whereas with the auto loan, if I'm just starting out to build credit, I'm going to be stuck with that bad interest rate for, 5 years, 60 months. So I would go credit card for sure.
I actually didn't even think about that. All right, so now just a little bit of a further tweak to that. So you mentioned responsibly. So let's say I open, a limit of $4,000 on a credit card. It's my first credit card. I get it from my bank or Amex, wherever, right? They grant me that. Responsibly being what? I'm assuming I know what you mean, but just for maybe people at home, what does responsibly mean?
Yeah, so responsibly to me, especially when talking about credit building, would be spending on it only what you know that you can pay off. And typically that recommendation is going to be, you get gas every month. So put your gas on that and then pay that gas every month. So leaving that hanging balance on there, not paying that off, just going on a shopping spree with that $4,000, that's not building your credit responsibly. That's just utilizing credit. So making sure you can pay that balance. Mm-hmm.
So correct me if I'm wrong. If let's say this is your first thing, you open a credit card and you spend $50, like you say, on gas, pay it off, and then you don't use it again, your credit's just going to keep getting better as it has zero balance and 100% payment. Like, you don't have to keep putting money on it every month, right?
So it's not really. Like, if you read a credit report, it doesn't say like spent $50 this month,
right?
Paid $50 this month. It just adds up months of on-time payments, essentially. So no, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. You just want to make sure that you don't underutilize it so much that it gets closed out.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, that takes a long time. But it's really about the percentage of utilization that you have on your credit or on your credit card, the length of time that you have it open, and then on-time payments. So that's why we also say, like, never close a credit card. You can burn the card, freeze the card, cut it up, throw it out, but don't close it because the length of time helps. But yeah, you don't have to, put the gas on there every month if you don't want to.
I was thinking that because I feel like that's a thing that you kind of hear people say is like, just make a small purchase on it, pay it off every month. So like, well, you could use it once and then pay it off so it establishes on-time payments, and then so it doesn't close maybe once every year, buy something really cheap on it, and then you're good.
Yeah, that I've definitely heard that in the industry a lot, that you do have to keep putting stuff on it, but I've never actually seen that
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
be true.
yeah.
Because again, when you read a credit report, that's not how it reads.
Right.
So
Nice.
good point.
Perfect. Thank you. When I started my credit, I did I just did my water bill on it.
Mhm.
Now that was like the same mentality, so it did it, and you're correct. It didn't. I was expecting points of increase over this. I'm like, I'm paying it off. What else you want me to do? I'm
Yeah.
doing this. It was like the steady increase didn't matter. And now I have pretty decent credit. I've paid off credit cards. I don't have any personal loans that I've ever done, but I have like a line of credit over time, and it drops like 20 points if I have like, here's a $200 for some bills
Right.
you paid on this. And it's like, why? I have paid this. Can you just guess I'll pay it? I promise. I've done it before. And so
Yeah.
you're right. It doesn't
And
matter.
usually it does go like back up pretty quickly if you did carry a balance one month and then you pay it off the next, and you get another Credit Karma alert
Yep.
saying like,
Yep.
hey, you paid that down.
Yeah.
You're up 2 points. Good for you.
You're doing great, sweetie. All right.
Mhm. Little
Carrie,
head tap.
yep. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think I'm sticking to that.
All right, perfect. I appreciate you. The next one's for Carrie's husband. Assuming, okay, bud. Assuming, Bradley, you have $1,000 in savings right now. That's the
Okay.
max you have. Would you rather invest in multiple stocks to diversify your portfolio? Think of long-term, retirement here, or focus on other investment options like IRAs. Which would you rather do?
So like a personal account,
Yeah, Fidelity is the usual.
or put it into my retirement account, basically.
Correct. Yep.
I would probably put it into the IRA first if I haven't met my limit for the year, which is $7,000. So in this case, I haven't. So I would take that $1,000, put it in there, and then I would do that first every single time. It's kind of like my order of operations of investing. Like you always want to do like max out your 401k, then do your 7,000 on your IRA, and then you can add extra money to your retirement or to your individual account to play around with. That's always the most fun part, is like when you can actually like start playing around with some of your extra money. But if I haven't maxed out my IRA, I would do that first.
So IRA first before doing a diverse portfolio of stocks.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Well, because in my
yeah.
IRA, I am investing in stocks, right? So I'm investing in ETFs, mutual funds, or individual stocks. So I look at my IRA as like, I'm not going to really sell this. This is for when I retire, when I'm 60 or whenever. I can take it out when I'm 60. And then the other stuff, like I can try to mess around with, and hold for a year or two.
So to be clear for everybody, it's not actually just going to your individual account and going forward buy $100 and
Right.
then Netflix buy $100. It's into the IRAs, which do contribute via stock.
Yeah.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Anything to add?
Nope.
All right. Perfect. Short, sweet, and to the point. For our second place winner here for the investment game eventually, Nick, assuming you have $1,000 right now, regardless of where it's at, you got $1,000 to play with, would you place an investment in crypto or individual stocks?
Oh, that's a good question. If I'm just playing around with money, I don't think so I have just thrown like $1,000 into crypto. So I wouldn't say I would not do that. But if I had an extra $1,000 that's not already invested in crypto, I feel like I would probably put it in something a little bit more risky, but not as risky as crypto. I'd probably do like a double leveraged fund ETF or something like that, tracking VU, just to kind of see. I'd probably throw it into there because it's been performing pretty good. I think I'm up like 40% on the 4X VU that I've got right
Jeez.
now, which is like
That's wild.
which is insane. But I bought it right when when everybody said the market was crashing, the sky
Yeah.
was falling. I was like, hey, let me throw like a couple bucks towards this, and it's up like 40% since. Obviously, that's no predictor of future success, but it has been pretty good for me so far. So I'd probably try something a little bit different, maybe a different double leverage fund or something like that. But I'd probably go stocks, but maybe just some riskier stocks than what I would normally invest if it was just an extra grand that I wasn't expecting to invest.
Makes sense. All right. Well, thank you for that. Anything that you want to add to that at all?
No, I would say if anybody else had an extra $1,000 though, you might consider paying off debt before investing. So that might be an alternative option. Pay off that credit card that
I
Bradley
was
uses
just about
once
to
a
say
year.
that. All right, perfect. I mean, I don't. Whenever it went down, I mean, I just invested my $1,000 in GameStop, so I've been doing pretty great. But I don't know what
To
you're
the
talking
moon.
about. It's definitely not down 22% over the last month, so that's
Not
great.
at all.
Perfect. All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you humoring my would you rather's. And now we're going to the meat and potatoes of today's episode, which is, excuse me, the finance news. We're going to go over basically like a ranking system with each one of these peeps. We're going to talk about these subjects with the economy and how important is it for them and why it is. So we're going to go each topic. I'm going to go ping pong between them and we'll see where they're at. I'm going to leave it up to you all of who wants to go first, but make sure you got something going on. I want to hear from you. First topic. Mortgage rates are at 6.84% for a 30-year mortgage and are barely moving. Home sales are down 6% year over year. On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a deal is this to you? So first come, first serve. Who wants to hit it?
I can start off because I have the mortgage rates in front of me and home sales. So mortgage rates at 6.84, and if you look at the chart on Freddie Mac, you can see that they went down to 6.09 in September when the Federal Reserve dropped the interest rates. But sales, like if you look at home sales every year, it like spikes up around May in June and then goes back down. Like that's the buying season. But every year the spike is a little bit lower in the since 2020, last 5 years. So it seems it's really weird because like Carrie and I have even talked about wanting to like if the interest rates go down and home sale prices, which they always go up but stay relatively low and don't spike up, then maybe like we'll get like some land or a nicer house or whatever. But like seems like it's never moving. And like things are like we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but things are kind of going pretty well. Like inflation is down, prices are generally down, like the stock market's doing pretty good. But right now, for whatever reason, interest rates aren't going down, especially on homes. So I'd say this is like a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay. A 7 out of 10, you said?
Yeah.
Sorry, I might have misheard you. Oh, okay.
7.5 specifically.
Right.
7.5.
I thought you said
7.5.
70 out of 10. I'm like, that's very calm for 70 out of 10. All right, perfect. Now, as someone who just views the headlines, I thought May was higher as far as inflation goes. So you're saying it actually was lower? How is that?
Well, okay, so we'll talk about inflation in a second, but every month inflation is always up. So, like in April, inflation was 0.2%. In May, it was 0.1%. So, yes, it went up 0.1%, but it went down month over month, if that makes sense. So, inflation essentially always goes up. It's just like, at what rate does it go up?
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying, because I had a lot of people that would probably be confused at that statement. Not yours specifically, but
Sure.
how the report came out. So I appreciate that. Well, yes, and you are correct. We will go over that in just a moment. Thank you for the clarification. Carrie, I know you have a house. How important is this to you?
So I'll one up Bradley. I'll say 8 out of 10. Or I'll half up Bradley, I should say. But like you mentioned, I mean, on a personal note, I think I mentioned on the last podcast I was on, our house is great, it's fine, whatever. It's just not really the one that we want. So we have definitely talked about the rates, like Bradley mentioned, if they go down, possibly getting some land, possibly changing houses, things like that. And right now it's just illogical to do that unless we had like just tons of flowing extra cash. Because even if we found a place that we liked better for the same mortgage, for the same cost overall, the mortgage is so much higher than what we're paying right now because of the interest rates. So personally, it matters because I'm interested in doing something else. But I also think about, unemployment rates and people going through layoffs, and then, people who are in the government who lost jobs and everything like that. And considering people, trying to possibly downsize, and even if people get less house right now or less land right now, depending on how much less of it they can afford to get, they might still end up with the same mortgage because of the interest rate. So I feel like right now with so many people unemployed and so many companies doing layoffs, like it would probably help a lot of people if those rates went back down, because they might need to find a new housing solution. So I think it's probably pretty critical for a lot of people.
Well, with your point, I know like a house around 300,000, which is less than it's more than 150,000 cheaper than what we bought, would have a higher mortgage payment than what we have right now. So like if we were in an urgent situation and we had to downsize, like 300,000 would mean we pay more. We would need to like keep going.
Yeah.
Like 250 maybe. Like you have to keep going.
Well, I appreciate that perspective, Bradley. Thank you. And now, finally, Carrie, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just say too, like, even with the cost of like apartments, like they're high as well. And you think of first-time home buyers wanting to make that good investment that they've always heard about, like you're just throwing your money away living in an apartment, paying someone else's mortgage, or renting a house, whatever. And I just wonder, as someone who's even younger than I am, like what do they think? How do they feel? Because that's the advice we're all given, and people are like, oh, those dang young kids not buying houses anymore. And it's like, what are they supposed to do? Why would they get themselves into that at this point? So
yeah. Well, maybe I'll follow up on a question I have for those in just a moment. Nick?
Yeah,
same question.
I'd say it's pretty up there. Obviously it's different depending on what stage of your life you're in, but like for me, I've got a plan to be debt free, including having my house paid off by the time I'm 40. So I've got like 5 years, and we're considering, relocating and stuff like that. And I refinanced during the COVID time, so I've got a pretty attractive rate right now on our current house. And if I was to relocate, I don't know, it might change that trajectory a little bit, because the house prices have gone crazy since I refinanced, and the rate's probably 4% higher than what I've got currently. And so it really just changes the entire dynamic of like what your payments are and stuff like that. So, I've always believed like, what do they say? You marry the house, date the interest rate. So like, I believe in that, but it's also, if you look at, take a step back at interest rates over the last like 20 years, and it's been higher more than it's been lower for the most part. So I don't know, maybe, and we'll probably get into it a little bit more later on, but how much lower are they going to get? I don't know. Like 6% isn't outrageous when you look at where it's been in the past. So maybe it gets lower, maybe it doesn't. Maybe this is just kind of our new normal. But I know, like, even looking at different investment opportunities and stuff like that, once you start getting the interest rate, like, it even makes some of those options a little bit less attractive too. I don't know, that's not like mortgage necessarily, but think about buying a duplex or something like that. Like the price has to be so much below market to even make a profit on that I think it might be detracting people from even looking at those types of opportunities and stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's a pretty big deal. You got to definitely crunch some numbers a lot more than you used to have to, because things are just getting a little bit more expensive.
That makes sense. Do you have anything to add before I kind of top off with that one? Okay. We've kind of mentioned a couple times lowering interest rates could help. Is this the new norm? I think that kind of is the where we cap it off here is, do we see this lowering within 5 years, the interest rates? Do we see this lowering, not only lowering in general, I'm sure it'll lower in some level, but like affordability wise for people? Do we find that, does anyone feel that we're going to get to a point where it's going to be affordable?
No, I mean, house prices always go up, like it's like the stock market. Like sometimes they go down a little, but they like historically always go up. So today's almost always going to be cheaper than it is tomorrow. Every once in a while you'll have spikes like we had 2021, 2022. House prices spiked, and just like we talked about with inflation earlier, like it's slowing down, but it's still going up. So it's never gonna get cheaper. No. Like in 20 years from now, Gen B will be like, oh, you know, Gen Zs had it so easy. House prices were so cheap. Like we see this on like TikTok or YouTube all the time. Like, oh, prices are so cheap for boomers. Like, well, yeah. And then houses were cheap for people born in 1910 and so forth and so on. It's always going to be like this.
All right. Anybody else to add to that?
I'd agree with that. I think that it's going to continue to go up. Maybe we see dips, but I don't think it'll, it's going to continue to just rise and rise. I hope that, interest rates drop a little bit more. I'd love to see 5% over the next couple of years. That might be a good number, but the prices of homes, I don't see those going down. It would take something as big as like the 2008 crash or COVID to make it drop. And even then, I think it recovers at a certain point to continue that same trajectory. So.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody with their insights there. Next topic, the CPI report for May inflation came out. Prices were up 0.1%, down 0.1% from April. Over the last 4 months, inflation is quickly slowing about 1 to 10. So this is what we alluded to earlier. Bradley, since you had kind of talked over that before, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. So how important is this to you?
I would say this is like a 9. And the reason why I would say it's so high is because there's just so much ambiguity when it comes to like potential tariffs. And like everyone thought 2 months ago that we were in another recession. In February, prices went down, or they dropped from 0.5 to 0.2, so a 0.3% decrease. In March, they literally went down minus 0.1%. So like we're looking at really good slow inflation, which is a good thing. The Federal Reserve wants it to be at at 2. So the Federal Reserve might drop interest rates if we continue this path going forward. But like prices are looking better. Like egg prices are 1,000 times better. Gas prices they were down. We'll see what happens now that people are bombing each other, but like things are good. So I would say this is a 0.8 because if this keeps happening and the stock market continues to perform well, job market continues to perform well, then like all the 3 things of a good economy are going the right way, and we're kind of out of like that post-COVID lull that we've been. So I would say 8.
Okay. Down from a 9. You just said 9.
Did I say 9?
Yeah, 100%.
8, 9.
I stopped caring about it halfway through that sentence.
9. Well, somewhere around there. 8.5.
All right. Nick, since you went last, I'll get you up next. So what do you feel about this?
I'd say I'm probably up there, maybe more like a 7.5 for me. I don't know. I don't mind inflation as much. I kind of like the idea of like, I buy something maybe on a loan, and that loan is easier to pay off in the future, and I think inflation kind of helps me do that a little bit. And so maybe that's a backwards way of like looking at it a little bit, but I hate the idea of buying something today and being harder to pay off in the future. So I'm okay with a little bit of inflation going on, but it's also not like the most important thing in the world to me, I guess.
All right, love it. Is yours going to drop down mid sentence too, or what do we feel?
Yeah, maybe it's a 6 after talking out loud.
I may have mentioned this before, but what's like Brazil, somewhere in South America, maybe Argentina, where they have really terrible inflation, like Venezuela. That's
Venezuela.
It's
I was
like,
about to say that's
it's
it.
like inflation, like 1,000 to 20,000%. People do exactly what you just said, Nick, where they buy something and then they would rather pay their late fees because it's worth less in a couple months. So like they're like, yeah, we pay our taxes, we always pay it late because the fees are worth less than our dollar that's going down or whatever they use. So they actually use that tactic all the time, especially when it comes to debt or payments or whatever. They wait because it's worth less and less and less. So
makes sense.
But that's when like inflation is like 1,000.
Crazy. Yeah.
Like we're talking about 2.4%.
Yeah.
I have a fantastic story about money differences, inflation stuff with Venezuela, but I want to hear from Carrie first. So where are you at with this? How is this inflation on your scale of 1 to 10, and then it'll go down mid-sentence? What do you feel?
I'd say I'm a 5, maybe a 6. So I went up for you, Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
But I'm just cheap. I was raised in a cheap household. My mom had a screen name of like D Cheapo Mom. So that's where my mindset is at. Her best friend was clearance. So the more I see prices go up, I'm like, oh, like that's so expensive. Even if it's like small, I just noticed that. But I will say on the bright side, it's also made me like stop and think more like, do I actually want this? Because now that it's like $1 more or $2 more than what I'm used to in the past, like, no, I don't actually want it. So it's helping me be a little bit more responsible and make better choices, even if it's not 2,000% like in Brazil.
It's going to be a great story, I promise. All right. So final number. What do you got? 5?
I'll go
or
6.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. All right, we're going up. Okay. So I've mentioned a few times, you see in the back, a huge video game fan. Venezuela. Fun fact, Venezuela has a horrible problem with a game called RuneScape. It's very famous, popular online MMORPG people play. It's free to play. What they do is they bot it. And they'll just have a program run where they'll just go around, collect things, sell it. There's like a trading system where you can get real life money. What they do is right now, essentially, I think I just spoke about this, I think, 2 weeks ago. But I was talking about this botting program, and the problem that's happening is that their like income they get is about $10 USD for their month, comparatively. $10.
Okay.
That's how bad inflation is there. They will go and do this botting program, and not only RuneScape, but there's others. Will they do Trade Gold, whatever it is, and they get an hour $2 and change. So think about that for a minute. Like they are going and playing this like online game for $2 an hour, when normally if you went to your normal 9 to 5, you get $10 a month. It's crazy. That used to be that dollar over inflation, like pre-COVID. It used to be about 50. It's still awful, don't get me wrong, but the more that has inflation has increased in Venezuela with their inflation problem, the more they've noticed in the gaming sphere, the botting problem actually has gone worse, because people are making bank comparatively just for making $2 an hour respectfully off of it by doing nothing. It's crazy.
So,
anyway.
Are you saying I can make $2 an hour playing RuneScape?
I mean,
That's what I
probably
took
more,
from this.
because if you could like get a system where you're like every transaction's like $20, you know what I mean? I mean, come on.
Okay.
Don't break terms of service, everybody. Do not endorse that. Don't be a bad person. Going on to the next topic. Thank you for indulging me. We're going to combine the two topics. Inflation is slowing dramatically, but mortgage rates are staying high. The Federal Reserve is not wanting to drop interest rates to fear future inflation. Now, we kind of alluded to this a little bit, but we mostly talked about the housing costs. Are they right? Or are they going to lower? So specifically for the future inflation with the Federal Reserve not wanting to lower those interest rates, does that matter to you? Carrie, I'm going to start with you this time. What's your care level?
What a mistake. Don't start with me.
Too bad. We're starting with you.
I'll take over for Carrie.
Can I mute Bradley?
When it comes to the Federal
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
When it comes to the Federal Reserve not wanting to drop interest rates, it's like I can't tell like between whether it's like political or like Chair Jerome Powell really wants to just make sure everything's okay. The thing is, like, if the unemployment market gets bad, then you kind of have to drop the interest rates because you want to like get money moving and you want companies to invest, they hire people, so forth and so on. But the employment market's pretty strong. It's good. But inflation isn't that high. So I would say this is less important of whether or not the Federal Reserve is going to do much about interest rates because it's more about like investments and how much banks trade money with each other. So I'll say 5 out of 10.
Okay. Keep it on your radar.
Yeah.
Not a huge focus. All right. So it's probably at a 4 now. That makes sense. Nick, where are you at with it since Carrie wants to be shy?
Yeah, so I would say I'm probably somewhere similar. I'm thinking like, has it translated into, interest rates being high? Like, are we buying less stuff? Like, what's the actual impact that we're having? And is there an actual need to drive like, obviously I want lower rates. Like I think we all would, but it also means lower rates on, other, investment options
Right.
and things like that, so it's like, unless there's something that's like triggering a need to reduce rates, then it's like, I mean, to Bradley's point, things are going pretty well. I think our, employment rate is good. What's the reason to drop rates? And that's probably why we're kind of at this standstill where it's like, yeah, housing is expensive, but there's not really a need to drop it. Maybe that changes. Maybe the houses stay on the market too long. There's more sellers than buyers and stuff like that, and that might trigger a need to reduce it, to stir more housing sales and things like that. But yeah, I think things are going okay, and why risk the hyperinflation that we've had in the past by reducing rates? Like, yeah, it's kind of let's wait and see. I don't see anything drastic changing, so I'd probably be at like a 5.
This is, headline reader here. I don't see this being... okay, well, let me rewind. Everything's political, no matter what. Let's be clear. I don't want to... Jerome Powell is going to be political in some level, even though they want to pretend no one is. I'm just this neutral person, right? I don't foresee this being, like, heavily political, of, like, a necessity they have to be political for this. Because I think... Was Jerome around during COVID? I believe he was, correct?
Yeah.
I think it's possibly, I think the criticism you can apply here is maybe he does have more of a like, hey, we went through COVID and like what Nick alluded to, let's not risk hyperinflation again. And that could be the focus. It could be, but he's been in it longer than me. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I'm assuming he has a reason, but I'm sure there's also some political thing in the background we're all not seeing because what's a little fun without politics and the economics, right? Come on.
There you go.
Carrie? All right.
Can
Your
I
turn.
just answer a question with a question?
Sure? Maybe?
My question is, but why? Why is the Federal Reserve controlling these rates? Don't tread on my rates.
Don't tread on my race.
Don't tread on my rates.
Don't
I
tread
like
on
that.
my rates.
Carrie's
Very
husband, what do you got?
libertarian take here.
Yeah.
Right? A Ron Paul take, if you will. What's the Federal Reserve doing controlling our economic system?
Taxation's theft.
That's a little
Getting out of
different.
control.
What is
It's
happening
funny
here?
to say. We're rolling off the deep end. Okay, well, I don't know. I'll start off with actually. So I think this goes in. This is once again, guy who reads the headlines. I don't know the ins and outs of the Federal Reserve. Top level for anyone who doesn't know, it's just to make it non-political for it. It's you have an outside force. That way, you don't have just the next president during like rollover term over term who's just going to keep being different each time, right? I think that makes sense in a perfect world. Right?
So if there was no Federal Reserve, then it would just be a free market. Like the president wouldn't control the rates. And if the president did control the rates, we would be at like a socialistic, communistic type economic of governing. But without the Federal Reserve, like things just kind of did, like it's our bank. It's like the country's bank. So whenever it was established, like 1914, I'm going to say the wrong date. But before it was established, banks just kind of did whatever they wanted. So it kind of like it's there to stabilize. So the president wouldn't control it. And if the president did, we'd be looking at more like socialism. And that's totally different. But we had never had that before. It was just kind of banks did what they want. They traded where they wanted. So it's kind of like a stabilizing thing. But there are still people who, argue that do we really need Federal Reserve? Like, has it done a lot of good? So we'll see.
I think it has, because if we just had a free market with rates, look at anything else in a free market over the last 20, 30 years. It's only gone up. I don't think anybody would, sure, you can argue if demand dropped, like people would have to reduce rates to be competitive, but I bet you we'd be sitting at a 15% mortgage rate right now if we just did free market on borrowing money and stuff. So maybe that does help keep interest rates a little bit lower, having this type of a process in place. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the goal is to be neutral, and hopefully it can stay that way. I think that's the part. So Carrie, do you have anything to add with the Enlightenment on the Federal Reserve at this point?
No.
All right. Okay, got it.
no.
Don't tread on my rates.
Interest rates or theft.
Bradley
All right,
can
got
edit
it.
that out.
That's my favorite part so far.
Interest rates or theft. Oh, okay, got it. All right. All right, Carrie's at a. I don't know if it's a 0 or a 10 on that one, based on her stance.
We'll give it a 5.
A good 5. Neutral like the Federal Reserve. I love it. All right. A little bit of a world economic news now here at the FF Podcast and Freedom Finance in general. We're not really into, besides Carrie, apparently, into the politics of things. What we do try to do, though, is try to stay neutral, just to give you the facts. No BS, as Bradley likes to put it. So, recently, I think it was yesterday or the day before this morning. Okay, time zones, Israel's bombed Iran's nuclear facilities and the stock market dropped today. How do you feel about that? So, Nick, I'm going to start with you this time. How does that affect you in your personal life? What is your worry?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I don't know the implications from like a supply chain or like how that actually translates into, less money in our economy. But I do know that there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of fear. And what do people do when they're afraid and they don't know what's going to happen? They don't buy more stock.
They save their money.
Yeah, they conserve, they sell, those types of things, which that's probably what we're seeing. Now, if there is no impact to the economic side of things, it should bounce up, right? Like once people know what's going to happen, there's no need to be scared. They'll take that same money they took aside and they'll put it back in the market will go up. Now, if there is some sort of like, oh, well, now the price of X has gone up and that impacts it, like, okay, sure, we might see some more long-term detriment to it, but to be honest, I don't know enough to say that there is going to be some sort of a actual impact to us. I think people right now are scared, and that's probably why we're seeing it, but that's kind of my take on it.
Where was the overall drop? How much happened? It was because it was today, right?
I think
where the big drop happened?
It wasn't crazy. It was just,
okay.
It was going well. I think it's like 1.2% drop for the day, something like that. Not
okay.
Like,
well, how long have we been green? We've been green for a while now, right? And so
overall, yes.
Everybody's waiting for that other shoe to drop of like, when's the market going to go? And so you have something like this and it's like, oh, this could be it. And and it kind of, just combines the the problem since we've had so many good green days. So
Yeah, it's like I said it. I made a joke about it before we started, and I make a joke about it every week now. Stock market's just vibes, you know. It really like right now it feels like it. I don't know what a better way to put it. I think especially with we're as Nick mentioned, we've been green recently so much that it's definitely getting to a point where it's okay. We're feeling good, we're getting there, and then anything like potential war is definitely something that I don't think is the investors are really looking for right now.
I know you're joking when you say the vibe thing, but there's a lot of like psychology stuff that I think drives the market.
Right, yeah.
So I think there's a lot to like. You're not wrong about the vibe stuff.
Well, I'd say I'm always right, but you know what I mean. All right, so Bradley, your thoughts on it?
I would say I'm like at a 9 because of
whoa.
the potential. If it's like, if nothing really comes out of this, especially as long as other countries don't get involved, like the stock market, things were going so well. So I'm at a 9. It could be like a 4 if like things kind of settle a little bit. But you know, if there is like potential for like the US to get involved, like that changes a lot of stuff, like the stuff about inflation, about the job market, everything changes with war. So like that, like, but 9, if nothing happens, it's like a 4.
So Brad, let me ask you a question on that. If it's a 9, do you change your investment strategy going forward?
No.
Nope.
I mean, unless it's like a apocalyptic end of the world type thing.
Then you might sell.
I mean, at that point, why are you selling? Who cares? We're dead, right? Like, I don't think
he's selling to get an electric self-driving car. That's
the apocalypse.
Why he's selling. Yeah,
well,
he's like, I
but
gotta
the
have
interest
it at
rates are
least
too
for a
high,
day.
you know.
It has to drive me around.
So as of now, the last thing I've heard about is the U.S. is just worried about making sure the partners in the area are safe, the base is safe. So that's some good news, and I think there was some initial worry about it for sure. But if I had to take my FF guess on this, I feel like by this time next week, as long as things have basically stayed the same, we're going to be fine. If we look back, I think it's been about a month. I think India was attacked as well. And I know
Pakistan
that's not like
in India.
Yeah. And I know it's a little different, like it's not as much of a partnership we have with Israel in that area, but war in general, it's vibes, you know, and if that's going to be causing an issue, that didn't really affect the stock market as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Carrie, what's your thoughts on it?
So instead of a number, I feel more like a magic 8-ball shake where it's coming up like, wait and see. Like, I'm going to try not to stress out.
I thought you were going to say ask again later.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
I mean, that's probably what I'm really looking for. I don't have those memorized like apparently you guys do. But
back there, you can't see it.
But yeah, you know my responses on the previous podcasts are I'm just trying not to think about it, and especially with this one, I just think it's too soon to tell for now. Hopefully it will be nothing, but we'll see.
We'll see. All right. I'm going to start this one off with Nick because I know he likes to dabble in a little bit of crypto here. Bitcoin broke record highs of over, wow, is that really that much? $111,000 a few days ago and sitting steady. So, Nick, why is that not your top gain in the investment tracker here for our investment draft? What's going on?
I think it's my second top, actually. So,
okay, but real answer, how important? How important is the Bitcoin to you in your real life?
I mean, in my real life, I would say I have probably like 2% of my portfolio in crypto. So it's a very small portion of it. So even if crypto was to 10x, I would I doubt I would hold it until at 10x. I would probably sell it if it just doubled. So I wouldn't even get all of those gains. In fact, I don't know if I shared this, but I bought crypto at or Bitcoin at like 20K and then sold at 25. So I don't have the I don't have the discipline to hold it while it does these crazy jumps and stuff like that. So it's probably not huge for me.
With that in mind, just pause real quick. That's a good topic to think about. So let's say you had $100 in crypto.
Mhm.
Let's say that is your $100. That's all I got. So I've got to sell if it gets really good. So what is your selling point? Is it like 10%, 20% increase? Where are you generally at with that?
Yeah, with crypto, I usually look for like big spikes because I think if you see a big spike with something that doesn't have any intrinsic value inherently, like it's probably going to go back down. And so, yeah, I'd say a spike of like 15% within like a 2 to 3 day period. I'm probably selling, but I'll be honest, I'm more just investing to just see what happens. So I'm not like 100% sold that crypto's the future, but I'm also like, it's interesting enough to want to like throw a couple bucks in it and see what happens and play around with it a little bit. So
Hence the 2%.
I'm not one of those like, oh, I'm going to hold this for the next 20 years because I just believe in it so much. It's more just, it's got my curiosity. So let's see what happens. Yeah. If I doubled my money tomorrow, I'd sell. And if it never went back down, I'd probably never invest again personally. But yeah.
With that being said, out of the 1 out of 10, so where are you feeling with this overall? It sounds like a 4. I'm getting 4 vibes from you right now.
I'm going to go with a 3 just because I want to be different than the 4 you recommended.
Well, that's because the sentence, it was the end of the sentence, so it went down.
Oh, and it went down.
So right, it's vibes, sense. Right? It's back to the
vibes.
Bradley, how do you feel about Bitcoin?
I'm at like a 6.5, and that's because like Bitcoin's been around since what, 2009 now, so we're at 16.
Man, I forgot. Has it really been that long?
16 years. And 100,000 in itself is like a pretty big number. Now, I care more just about the topic than Nick does, but I just did some math. Of my portfolio, 0.17% is in crypto specifically, mostly Bitcoin. So it doesn't matter to like my bank account or my retirement account. But I think like the longer it stays around and the higher it goes, the more it's proven to be legitimate, you know? So I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere. And the fact that it just keeps kind of going up and staying while other cryptocurrencies fail, you know, especially meme coins, I think it's pretty relevant.
Big proponents of the Hawk Tua coin around here.
Right.
Kidding. Don't ever, please, invest in GameStop like a normal person. Now, that being said, fun fact for me, during, it was pre-COVID, I got Cash App because they were like, hey, open Cash App, get some Bitcoin. It was like $10 worth, nothing crazy, right? That, as of today, I just checked, I actually have $35 from that. I've never invested since. But just think if I kept adding on to that since then, it's crazy to think how much I could have in there at this point. Like, that's just a little nugget of knowledge for me. I definitely agree that increase, I might put in a little bit, honestly. I think there might be some future where Dylan gets into crypto a little bit. I think the diversification might be needed. Not crazy. We'll see. Little D coin coming in. I don't know. We might see what's happening. All right. So, Carrie, what are you feeling about Bitcoin?
So, I'm going to give you the not financial forward thinking answer at all.
Okay.
And it's 0 because I cannot hear about Bitcoin and crypto anymore. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to see headlines on it. I'm over it. So I just don't care.
How did crypto hurt you? Okay, I think that's fair.
If I get asked, like, hey, have you seen what Bitcoin's doing today? One more time? Like, no. I'm going to start losing it.
On a serious note, I do feel like Carrie is your average American's thought on it right now. I really do. Because I think what's burnt it over time is unironically examples of like the Hawk Tua coin. And then the craze, was it NFTs during COVID? That was like the big thing. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, let me put this JPEG on a blockchain and everyone's going to care about that. Like, that matters. Like, it does. No one cares. No one cares about your ugly ape. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. But like people, I just saw all I saw, and this is, I'm sure somebody will be mad that has an ape profile picture, but it's what like people were just. I remember on Twitter back in the day, all they would do was they would go on, right click, copy, and they would save the picture and just make it their profile picture and be like, yo, hey, what do you mean? I invested too. And they're like, and they just had to over explain why that's how it works, but no one cares.
Hey, but hang on. I gotta just jump on this real quick because look at Bitcoin versus NFT, right? So you have a Bitcoin. Other than what it's valued at to sell it, what do you do with a Bitcoin? Absolutely nothing, right? Like you can't do anything with it. NFT, you're a video game guy, right? If you buy a digital game, can you resell it?
No.
NFT you can. NFT gives you a specific identification. So a digital item, you would have the rights to basically resell that, kind of like you would a physical copy of it. So an NFT actually does have some intrinsic value. Obviously, like the pictures, the apes, that stuff, like that's the dumb stuff. But like NFT technology actually had the capability to have some actual added value, and they're worth nothing now. Bitcoin doesn't even do that.
Well, so you can buy stuff with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You can use it as a currency.
But it's not anything other than that. You know what I mean? Like you can't, other than just buying and selling it, it's not like an NFT actually could have provided a value, a service that we don't currently have, where Bitcoin doesn't do that. It's just an alternative currency.
Service?
Well, yeah, because like you're saying the value, but I could make the same argument about the NFT though, right? Like all I'm doing is either going to buy that, hold it, then sell it when the value goes up, like I would do with these over here, right?
Well, no, I'm just saying like if it could create a secondary market for even just like pre-owned digital video games, basically, right? Like you can do that. Technology allows you to do something that we can't do today, which is resell a digital purchase. And so like there's some value there. I don't know how much value it is, but Bitcoin doesn't allow you to do it's just an alternative way to buy things. And if NFT prices drop like that, what's to stop Bitcoin from doing the same thing? So I don't know, just some food for thought, I think.
And I think the reason why I bring that up is not to undervalue what they are. My point with it is hearing like the NFT craze, the Hawk Tuah coins, all of that. Mm-hmm. My point is it really just diminishes the value to people for crypto in general. It just feels like, I think it gives a bad taste in people's mouth. That just feels like anything you do, even though even here at FF, we talk about it and we acknowledge it's a real currency. Like it's a potentially valuable asset to gain in your portfolio for sure. And my point is, I think it just has been so tainted by scams, just in all honesty, and lack thereof like validity, that I think it just diminishes the value in people's minds, like how Carrie feels about it. And I think that's like the thing.
I think it's like whose line is it anyways, where the points don't matter and the rules are made up. So.
Tag me in. I'm in. All right. Well, Carrie. Oh yeah.
I will say real quickly. So I do like the investment thing I talked about earlier. It's like lower on my priority list. Like if I would first do my 401k match, then IRA. But like it would take a while for me to get to Bitcoin. But 106 million people own Bitcoin, or at least a portion of a Bitcoin. So like what's preventing it from just going down? Well, ownership, supply and demand, whereas like a singular NFT is kind of driven by the fact that one person values one NFT versus what the market values that one singular NFT, right? Whereas Bitcoin is a whole thing. A singular NFT, like if we think of it like a digital art value, well, I have this painting, I think it's worth $5, Dylan thinks it's worth 2 cents, and Carrie and Nick wouldn't buy it, so, well, it's worth 2 cents to Dylan, So, whereas Bitcoin has supply and demand behind it.
And Nick, maybe and this isn't a trick question, I genuinely don't know, let's say NFTs were like a higher place in society right now, right? Like people weren't tainted by the experiences that were there. I wanted to start. You'll see, I don't know, my own JPEG, right, or whatever digital game, whatever it is.
Sure.
My question is, where does the value start in those, and how does it increase or decrease based on like value? So let's say, do I just like this is going to be worth $10? Does someone buy it for me for $10 and then they'll resell it for 12? Is that like the idea?
Yeah, so I think the original idea was kind of like an exclusivity thing of like, hey, you can be part of this group if you have this certain NFT and stuff like that. Like, I from my understanding, there was like a whole celebrity backing on certain ones, like the Bored Ape Club or whatever.
Yeah,
it was like it had value because of the things that allowed you to do because you were an owner of that NFT. I think that kind of like fell through and like the whole NFT market just crashed because it wasn't like a real thing or anything like that. I think the value, and I think GameStop, ironically enough, was actually kind of playing around with the idea of using NFT technology for the pre-owned like digital games and stuff like that.
I think so.
But yeah, I think it's kind of I think Bradley mentioned like an art thing, right? Like but really what I think it happens is I have $10 NFT and somebody's like, boy, I bet you I could sell that for 20. I'll buy it for 15. And then somebody's like, ooh, that's for sale for 20. I bet you I could sell it for 30. So I'll buy it at 25. And then just this like cycle keeps happening where it's like, who's left holding the bag? And so that's where I think, a lot of people had that idea. Oh, it can keep going up. It can keep going up, but it's not, there's no underlying value to it. And so it's going to go down at some point. I think Bitcoin's a little bit different to Bradley's point because it is so integrated into society. But like there's one guy, I think it was the creator of Bitcoin that has like $116 billion worth of Bitcoin. He's just sitting on, and the U.S. government has 22 billion in Bitcoin. Like one dude has 6 times the amount of Bitcoin as the U.S. government does right now. Like I don't know. It probably won't. It's unlikely, but it is the same type of thing as an NFT, and that stuff crashed overnight. So I would just be careful.
Yeah, no, definitely be careful. But you know what else doesn't have any intrinsic value? The U.S.
dollar.
Yeah, I was going to say that too as a joke because I wanted to be wrong. But yeah, you're right. I guess so.
Like there's nothing backing it. It's just
it has value because we all
gold.
Agreed it has value.
Like, gold doesn't value it anymore. So.
I think it was the one we did, Bradley, together, where it was since like the 60s we stopped doing that.
Yeah, Richard Nixon completely cut it off. It started in like the 1910s and then during the Great Depression, and then Nixon nixed it.
Wow, that was awful. All right. So thank you for everybody for sharing these topics as the ones we had today. I'm going to open up as an open forum to talk about anything they want. I will start. Not necessarily about the economy or any finances. A little bit of an off topic, just some fun things also happening in my life I'd like to talk about. First of all, outside, big video game fan, horror games. Horror gamers are eating good recently. We've got Silent Hill 1 remake coming out. Super excited about that. We have Silent Hill 2 remake that recently came out. We also have Silent Hill F and the RE9 announcement happening next year. I'm super excited about that. And on top of that, I'm announcing for all of you, my kid is getting into preschool. I'm super excited. So
that's awesome,
nice.
Man.
Getting that set up next week. I'm getting her into like a screening thing. So she's super smart, allegedly. She gets it from me, of course.
Right,
and
that makes sense.
That does. That's why I'm on the podcast. It's just like proud dad moment. I'm just excited for that, and I can't wait to see how well she does. So we're getting enrolled, and hopefully there's a spot. Otherwise, she just starts next year like normal. So
Nice.
Bradley, you got anything?
Just some fun Bitcoin facts for you here. Just like
Can't hear about Bitcoin
it's
anymore.
good. This is for Carrie. There's what I say, like 100-something million people own Bitcoin. 22% of Americans own Bitcoin. There's 200 million worldwide wallets of Bitcoin where people opened up something or at least one point owned Bitcoin.
gosh.
400,000 daily. Oh no, sorry. Daily Bitcoin transactions, $270,000 or 270,000 transactions in Bitcoin. So people be tossing back Bitcoins all day long. Just some fun Bitcoin thoughts. Some food for thought there.
Carrie,
Now I'm
1 out of
upset.
10.
0. But now I have to share something interesting, or that I think
Perfect.
is interesting about Bitcoin, which I hate. I do think it is interesting when different things pop up that you can buy using Bitcoin, but also I think it's my credit card changed recently, the main one that I use, and I want to say you can use your rewards to buy Bitcoin.
Ooh.
So like instead of getting cash back or instead of getting a gift card or whatever,
That's
you can just
interesting.
buy Bitcoin.
I was going to say, that's pretty
And
cool,
I
actually.
think that's interesting as much as I hate talking about it. But the real thing I was going to say, since we already talked about the Switch 2 and we talked about, or Nick mentioned, digital only games, word to the wise, apparently if you get the Switch 2 bundle with Mario Kart, they're giving you a digital copy.
Yeah.
And that annoys me to no end. I probably wouldn't have bought it that way if I knew, because it's so lame. Give me my disc. Let me resell it if for some reason we happen to hate Mario Kart, or it was as bad as the Pokemon game on Switch 1, which is another topic you really don't want to get me started on.
Apparently, it's a lot better on the Switch 2, though.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's the topic you don't want to get me started on. They fixed it for the Switch 2. They didn't fix it for the Switch 1. And how dare they? That's rude.
You're 100% right if you couldn't tell. These are not just, this is real. These are all video games up there. I didn't know that was a digital version. I thought that was definitely going to be, because, like it's always been, back in my day, used to get the disc with it. Like,
don't sell me a bundle without a disc.
Yeah.
What? That's wild.
They're cartridges, by the way, but
yeah.
Okay, you know what it is. A fancy SD card, whatever. So I was
obviously I'm not playing it. Okay.
Oh,
but
okay.
Still.
Well, you haven't been allowed to. That's the big thing, because it's been occupied by somebody in the house.
That's definitely it.
So real quick, don't you have to? The one thing that was actually aggravating to me, besides the price increase, was some of them you have to buy, like the Switch 2 version, like Zelda, I think is one of them, to get the increase. Is that right? Like the fidelity increase?
Yeah, it's like a $10 upgrade to get like the
Switch. If you own it digitally, though, right?
Huh?
But if you own it digitally, it's a $10 increase, right? What if you own it on?
I'm not cartridge. A disc.
Yeah, I think it's still $10.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. That was my worry about it. Like, it's a little silly that you need to buy an upgrade for the game you already own. Whatever. PlayStation 5 does that, by the way, for free.
PlayStation.
Just so we're on the same page. Yeah. And Xbox does it too. You're right. I'll give them that. That's wild to me. Anyway, you're right. I'm not going to continue that. Nick, what's going on with you? What do you got to talk about before we close this out?
No, I'll just 2 points. Yeah, a disc.
Triggered.
Actually, my car doesn't have a CD player anymore. I'm very sad. But no,
okay, bud.
2 things. One, I grew up in the 90s, so if you guys remember a show called Recess back in the day, right?
Yes.
Great show. There was an episode, TJ, the main kid, he's sick for a week, comes back to school, and everybody is using these little like stickers or whatever to buy things on the playground. And he goes and he basically buys, or he earns all the stickers through working and stuff, and then buys all of the balls and then uses it to like monopolize everything, becomes the king, and he's like super rich. And then the next week he comes in and tries to use his stickers, and they're like, oh, we moved on to these other stickers. Those are worthless now. Don't let that be you with Bitcoin, because it could happen just like that.
Awesome.
That was such a full circle moment.
That's
that
good.
was
Yes.
fantastic.
That's a good one.
Yes.
I don't know
Well-
how you went from one of my favorite kids' TV shows to roping me
Bitcoin.
into another conversation about Bitcoin, but
Yes.
I might lose it.
Well, hey, Carrie, good news is we're going to end today's episode. So I appreciate everybody for showcasing their thoughts and feelings about what's happening in the world and the economy as usual. My name is Dylan, here with all my guests. So I do want to appreciate everyone watching the Freedom Finances podcast. As usual, this is episode 24. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. We appreciate you all. See you later.
Adios.
See ya.